Let's talk about a word you've probably seen 100 times in ancient texts, but maybe never really stopped to think about. Woe. It sounds dramatic, but what is it really? Well, it turns out it's more than just a word for sadness. It is a declaration with some serious cosmic weight, and we're about to find out exactly why.
I want you to just picture this scene for a second. The sky is dark, with this sense of pure dread, and flying right in the middle of the heavens for the whole world to see is a single eagle. But it's not just flying, it's crying out. 3 times this message of absolute doom. It's got to be one of the most chilling, terrifying images in the entire book of Revelation.
So, what is the deal with this word? Is it just some old-fashioned way of saying things are about to get really bad? Is it a curse, a cry of sorrow, or is it something else completely? Today, we're going to dig in and unpack the true, complicated meaning behind this ancient word of judgment.
All right, so to really get woe, we have to start not with its definition, but with its sound. Yeah, its sound. We need to go right back to its very human and very gut-level origins.
So in the original text, you're looking at WOE in Greek or hoi in Hebrew. And listen, these weren't just words you'd look up in a dictionary. No way. They were active, powerful tools. A prophet would use them to grab an entire nation's attention and announce that judgment was knocking at the door.
And this is the absolute key to understanding it. Woe is an automatopoeia. A word that sounds like what it means. And what it sounds like is the loud, wailing, almost whooping sound of grieving women at an ancient Middle Eastern funeral. It's the raw sound of loss. So think about that. When a prophet cries, woe, they are literally starting a funeral for people who are still alive.
Okay, so we've got this cry of mourning. Now let's watch how this word gets picked up and sharpened into a tool for teaching. Because in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus takes this ancient cry and turns it into a seriously powerful rhetorical weapon.
Think about the structure here. It's absolutely brilliant. Jesus starts his public teaching in Matthew with the famous Beatitudes. Blessed are the merciful, blessed are the pure in heart. They're these beautiful promises of divine favor. But then look at how he ends his public teaching with this fiery list of 7 woes. They're a perfect and honestly a pretty chilling mirror image. This is a deliberate move from blessing to curse.
And he's not just drawing out random insults here. These are surgical strikes. He's calling out the religious leaders' hypocrisy, how they say one thing and do the complete opposite, how they obsess over tiny little rules while completely ignoring the huge stuff, like justice and mercy. He calls them out for loving the spotlight more than they love the truth.
But this brings up a really big question, right? Is Jesus condemning every single Pharisee out there, or is he using them as poster children for a leadership system that he sees as completely broken, a system that's leading everyone astray?
Well, it's complicated. If you only read Matthew's Gospel, yeah, it seems like he's painting them all with one very harsh brush. But then you hop over to the Gospels of Luke or John, and you meet Pharisees like Gamaliel, who actually stood up for the apostles, or Nicodemus, who came to Jesus secretly to learn. This kind of suggests that Matthew's real target might be bigger than just a few bad apples. It might be the entire corrupt power structure itself.
All right, buckle up. We're about to zoom way out. We're leaving a heated argument on the streets of Jerusalem and heading straight into the cosmos, into the epic, world-ending visions of the book of Revelation. And this is where woe gets put on a whole new scale.
Yeah, this isn't a prophet talking to a crowd anymore. This is a lone, mysterious figure flying high in mid-heaven, and it's making a proclamation so loud that everyone, the inhabitants of the earth, can hear it. The stakes just went from local to global.
So who or what is this messenger? The Greek word used here is etos. Now, to us, that translates to eagle, a symbol of strength, of freedom, even of God. But here's the twist, and it's a big one. Etos can also be translated as vulture, and that changes everything. All of a sudden, the majestic divine messenger becomes an omen of death, a scavenger circling a corpse.
And the ancient audience would have totally picked up on this ambiguity. In some of their texts, like 2 Baruch, eagles are heavenly messengers. But in others, like Deuteronomy, an eagle is the symbol of a foreign army swooping in for the kill. Jesus himself even uses the image, saying, "Where the corpse is, there the vultures will gather." And just to add another wild layer to all this, the ancient text of 3 Enoch describes the supreme angel Metatron as having a body like that of eagles. So is this messenger a bird, a symbol of an invading army, an omen of death, or a high-ranking angel? The text leaves it chillingly open, and that's probably the point.
Okay, so we've gone from ancient funeral rites to prophetic curses to cosmic judgments. Where does that leave us? How are we supposed to understand this word today?
Finding a perfect modern equivalent is really tricky. The word alas is pretty good. It captures that deep sense of sorrow, of lament, but it feels a little weak, doesn't it? It's missing that hard edge of judgment. Some people have actually suggested that the closest we get in English to the sheer force of a prophetic woe might be the word damn, not as a throwaway curse word, but as a solemn, heavy declaration of condemnation.
And this really brings us to the ultimate question, the heart of the matter. Is a woe a warning? Is it a final, desperate plea for people to turn back before it's too late? Or is it a declaration that time's up, that the warnings are over, and judgment is now a sure thing?
The answer, it seems, is both, and that's exactly what makes the word so powerful. Woe exists in that tense, terrifying space between profound sadness and unbending judgment. It's the cry of a creator who is grieving for what must be done. It is both a lament and a curse, twisted together.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. If you looked up and heard that cry from the sky today, a single cosmic woe, would you hear it as a curse to run from, or would you hear it as a final warning to be heard? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining me for this one.